So I finally solo queued my way to Masters, and I want to share with you guys exactly how I did it. Now don't get me wrong, this wasn't easy, and I didn't steam through diamond lobbies like some people can. Luckily with this game, however, I did get 2 Masters on my squad, so that was pretty nice. But this is the actual game that got me to Masters, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this, all my decisions, and some tips along the way so you can hopefully get through diamond as well. Now, if you can avoid solo queuing, I highly recommend you do. Honestly, even if that's by grouping up with a team that perhaps you got a win with or did really well with in game, or it's someone you find through a Discord. Honestly, it can be so much more beneficial and so much better than solo queuing and just losing all your brain cells. But anyway, we're going to get straight into it, and the first thing I want to talk about is legends and legend composition. Now, you probably heard it when you are solo queuing, movement legends are the best. And while that is true, I used a lot of movement legends while solo queuing. I used Wraith, Octane, and even Valkyrie, depending on the day. Honestly, it kind of varied. It was super weird. I'd honestly say play the legend that you're most comfortable with. I had a few games as Gibraltar that I had great wins with. I had great wins with Valkyrie, Bangalore, Octane. Honestly, like the legend that's gonna benefit your team the most, because it's the legend you can best play, is going to be the most important one. And honestly, if you might play like a Gibraltar to balance out the team, but you might not really be able to play Gibraltar, and you're kind of hindering your team there by actually picking a legend that someone else could have picked, or by choosing the legend you can't actually play. And if you chose the legend that you're used to playing, you might have actually been able to help out the team more. Now, I know that this sounds super weird, but balancing the team comp is important, don't get me wrong, especially in Diamond, but if you're not on comms, it can be a bit of a problem. And sometimes you just need to play selfishly. Although having, you know, Gibby, Caustic and Valk, or Gibby, Valk and Bloodhound would be ideal, sometimes it doesn't always go like that. And yes, I could have balanced out this team with Valkyrie, and it would have given us some movement and rotation potential if we did get caught out in a sticky situation, but I wanted to play Bang. That was a legend I was running, that was a legend I wanted to play this game, and that's a legend I chose. And honestly, it doesn't really matter as much which legend you're playing. I know it's important, but the one you're most comfortable with and the one you're going to do best with is way more important. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is your landing location. It is, of course, the first thing we have to decide when loading into a ranked game. And as you can see here, we've landed at Lava Fissure. Now, a lot of people, as in Diamond, you do need kills to rank up. It is important that you get kills, and you can take those 50-50 fights on drop. However, when solo queuing, I don't like to do this. I don't know how good my teammates are. I don't know if they can handle themselves in fights, and it's not a risk I really want to take straight off drop with that -48 looming over me. Particularly as you get higher in the ranks, it's not something I'm really looking to lose. And I don't know why I keep bringing up my teammates' banners here. I apologize. Off topic. Anyway, but it's not. I don't want to be taking those -48s, and I'd much rather get some more placement and maybe take a mid-game third party or some end-game kills than risk that -48. So honestly, there's nothing wrong with landing in a safe location. But if you're playing with friends and you feel more comfortable taking those 50-50s, or you're maybe at the bottom of Diamond and you don't really having any RP to lose, but you have everything to gain, honestly, take it. But for me, I don't want to risk that -48 not knowing how good my teammates actually are. And, you know, badges are great and all, but it doesn't give a true perspective of how that person is playing that day. We all have good days, we all have bad days, and it could be an off day for them as well. So honestly, for me, it wasn't an idea to take those early game fights all the time. Some games I couldn't help it because my teammate would be jump master and they'd land us straight in. And yes, I did get -48s, and sometimes I came out on top and had some great KP, but it's a 50-50 at the end of the day. And you could get good loot or you could get bad loot. You can get good teammates or you can get bad teammates. So if you're in control, landing a bit safer would be the better option in my opinion. I know some people might disagree with that, but because we do need kills, I'm going to pick these up mid-game, or I'm not even going to stress about it and pick them up end-game. Yes, we do need kills, we need points, But there's plenty of time to get it, and honestly, if I don't get any throughout the game, I might get 2 or 3 at endgame and a win, and that's way better than getting 2 or 3 kills and getting killed by a third party mid-game, because placement does matter. Although with a new KP system, everything's been sent and everything's wild and you get 3 stacks jumping all over you, you know, placement still has its role. Now I'm just going to skip ahead a little, and we're going to get to an actual fight. So I'm just going to skip ahead to Harvester. Now what I did notice here actually just before this is the Jibby was actually lagging behind us a little bit, and I didn't want him to get left out. So I'm just going to talk about sticking together, and you'll see how that plays out in this fight too. Now I waited around for this Jibby because I didn't want him to be on his own. If he gets attacked by a whole squad, he's dead, and we're immediately, you know, 2 of us, and we're now a duo, and it puts us in a bad position. So sticking to your team is going to be way better. Obviously, if a team see 3 people, they're about to push 1 person, but then see another 2 next to them, they're probably going to think twice about it and maybe not push as aggressively, and, you know, you might be able to survive that fight or at least get away all 3 of you, rather than 1 person being taken down and immediately disadvantaging your team. So if you're that guy who likes to push, but your teammates aren't pushing, it's something you really need to be aware of when solo queuing, is how your teammates are playing. And it's something you need to be sort of looking at. If you start pushing and your teammates aren't there, you need to back out. Or if your teammates start pushing and you're not there, you need to push with them. You need to honestly really think about everything you're doing when you're solo queuing. And, you know, although you need to play selfish, you also need to stick together and play as a team. And this is exactly what this team didn't do, and it cost them. Now, you'll see here Bloodhound gets this scan, and I only see 1 on there, but I'm getting shot. I back up. You know, as soon as Bloodhound started pinging enemies, because we're not on comms, which is super infuriating. If you're someone who likes to sit in party chat, please go to comms and a game chat and just help out your random solo queue, or just speak on the mic. You know, it's really beneficial knowing everything that's going on. But this guy was on his own, this Bloodhound, and immediately gets beamed by 2 of us. Now, because obviously, if that was a full team situation, if we both focused on the same target, it would take him down super fast and would be more beneficial. But this guy, because he was separated, it's immediately put that team in a 2v3. Now, although later on we do actually choose to leave this fight, which I'll explain why, there immediately, you know, if this was a different situation, we could clean up that squad pretty easily. But what's happened here is, although I've launched my ult, which seemed to do nothing, and I'm pretty sure Jibby gets an ult in there as well, they've secured themselves up top with the best positioning, and we can't get to them because we don't have a movement legend, with rampart shields. And as soon as we push that, we're going to get absolutely beamed. I can hear Sheila spinning up and everything, and it's not a risk I'm wanting to take. Now, although we end up launching nades and ults up there and stuff, Jibby does get downed, which gets a little risky, but weirdly they don't push. I don't think they feel confident. I don't think they really want to take the risk, so I get that res off as fast as possible. Obviously in Bangalore I can smoke and it gives us a bit of cover, but honestly at this point now Jibby's been downed, I'm like, okay, we've been fighting too long, we need to get out of there. Another team could come from landslide, another team could come from anywhere on the map, because everyone's hunting for KP this season. The new changes have made it so that everyone's absolutely sending it. It's really weird, but this Jibby, like, he went down and it could have cost us there. Like, we could have lost that fight, me and Bloodhound. We had the advantage, and all of a sudden it's an even playing field. Now, at that point, I want to get out of there. The fight's been going on too long. If a fight is going on more than 30 seconds, you should maybe think, actually, this fight's going on too long. How many squads have heard it? How many squads are in the area? Are we going to get pushed? You need to be thinking 1 step ahead, because as much as you like the third party and get kills, everyone else is going to want the third party and get kills. And if you're fighting for so long, you're going to get killed too, because another team's going to come from the back, or another team's going to get involved because they're seeing knocks, and it's not ideal, and you're going to end up dead. And was it really worth it for 1 or 2 extra KP, but you're still like 13th, 14th, and you know, you're barely breaking even? Probably not. Honestly, if your fight's going on too long, get out of there as fast as possible, which is a huge tip which people don't seem to think about. Now, this is weird because this caustic's just here. What I'm guessing here is another thing I'm going to talk about, which unfortunately can't be helped. There's been a lot of server issues this season. And particularly this second half of the split, I've had so many problems where my game has just frozen mid-game, or I've had really, really laggy games, but it's only just me, like a packet loss bug, I think it is. It's so strange. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it. You're free KP to someone. Honestly, the only thing you can do is kind of just wait and try rejoin maybe after you're dead, and then you might be able to spectate your teammate. It's not a great situation, and unfortunately there's nothing that can be done, and you've kind of just got to take the RP loss. Believe me, I've had my fair share of them. They are extremely frustrating, but unfortunately there is nothing that can be done. There's no advice I can offer there, but you might get lucky and find some free KP hanging around the map because of that. Now, because I saw that Rampart and whoever else it was landing into lava, we actually changed our rotation into this bit. So they went into Lava Siphon, and Lava Siphon, let me pronounce that correctly. They actually went in there, and they could have gatekept us. You know, they had the upper hand, they had the high ground, and it's not something we want to really risk. So it's a pretty popular POI as well. So we actually rotated around, went the opposite way, and we end up going into a third party. Now, at this point, we know people are knocked. They're in, like, the middle of a huge fight. There's Cyril in there and everything. So we push up, and again, we're all pushing together. We see one guy here, and he's straight out. He's not messing around in the Octane. But then there's just, like, a Pathfinder sitting at the back here as well. And these guys are all spaced out, so they can't deal with us. You know, we've all pushed together. But for us, we've tried to take that third party. And unfortunately, it gets us a few kills. It just takes a little while to get there. I think they actually just finished fighting just as we got up there. But I hear someone to my left, which is super strange. I'm like, who's that? There's someone over there. So I'm watching there while my team are fighting. But it turns out just to be a downed guy. Now, the thing is with people who are downed, like, it's kind of important to finish them. Whether you've killed them or not, and whether you've downed them or not, you'll actually see I get the KP for that. And that's because the team who they were fighting has now died, and the KP instead goes to me because I've finished the enemy, which is weird how it works, but that's how it is. But you should always finish your downed enemies. Now, obviously, if you're in a 3v3, you down one, it's now 3v2, and you're in a better situation. But if they get the res off, it's an even playing field again, and they can come back and absolutely slap you. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. So you need to finish your downs off. And now, because we take down this Octane, which was pretty easy. Again, he was split from his Pathfinder teammate. He was an easy takedown for like just two of us pushing him. He's got no chance. He was an easy KP. And then this Pathfinder's like, okay, well, you know, I'm not fighting three people. I'm getting out of here, which is absolutely okay to do. I think people sometimes get scared to play selfishly, which is weird. They're frightened that someone's going to rage at them or something. Honestly, if someone does, they're an idiot. Just ignore them. Sometimes, if you're in doubt, write it out. That's what I say. If two of your teammates have been down, one's been down, the fight dynamics completely changed, and the best thing you can do to save your RP is just run and rat and wait for placement. Just do it. You owe no one anything, and honestly, you're playing for yourself here. They're not going to be with you when you're going up the ranks, unless they're your friends, obviously. But when you're still linking, they're not going to be with you. You know, you've got to play selfish and do the best you can to minimize those RP losses. So if you need to, just go and hide. Now, you will notice here as well, I'm actually just checking around the back of us, just making sure that no one's rotating behind us. We have a pretty strong position here, but someone could come from where we came from, or back, that Pathfinder could come back, and it's not a risk I want to take. So I think this is something people forget, but you should always be checking behind you and making sure you're aware of your surroundings. Now, we have a pretty solid position now in this building. It is coming our way, but the ring probably is going to move to the opposite building. But I'm happy now just to sit here. I've got 4 KP, and there's 9 squads left. The thing that's really going to benefit me now is getting placement, and I think this is something people are scared to do. They're kind of scared to hold down areas or just wait around a bit more passively for the teams to die. Like, there's going to be a lot of rats, especially in Diamond, but honestly, there's nothing wrong with playing a bit more passively if you want to, and just waiting around and taking the right fights, and then just, you know, capitalizing on that KP you've got and waiting around for those placement points, because it does make the difference. Although KP is super important this season, and a lot of people are sending, a lot of people playing the light pubs, sometimes, you know, going for placement is still the best option. And I'm happy to just defend this, make sure no one takes our position. and that's okay with me. But these guys want to try to take a fight for some reason. But I need to back them up, and unfortunately we're not on comm, so I don't actually know what's going on, which is super infuriating. But I just want to make sure, again, no one's coming behind us, no one's flanking us, nothing like that. So I'm just going to skip ahead because we practically just hold down, just trading shots with another team. Nothing exciting. This ring then actually forces this team out. Now, because we held that building, this team is now forced to us. And again, getting that positioning, like we have a pretty solid position here, but if you can get that good position and you can hold it well, go for it. Like, I think the thing is though, people sit in the end game, in like the middle of the end game from like ring like 2 or 3, and then they're kind of just sat there and they've got to defend all these teams also going for that position, and that can be a really bad strategy. I think sometimes it's finding the right time, and it's kind of hard to describe as to how that can like happen, but you'll get the gist of it. You'll know when the right time to move is. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that you've got to get from your own game sense, I guess. Sometimes holding a position will work well if maybe you have a Caustic or a Watson, but we don't really have any of that, and we don't want to hold the center of the ring with all these teams attacking us. Weirdly, I did down that Valk and they got finished, but for some reason I didn't get the KP on it. I'm not sure why, whether they were in a self-res or something. I have no idea. It was super weird. But now I noticed we actually have to rotate, and there is a team holding that building, but that building is going to be the best position for this end game. I'm seeing where their ring's going, and that's pretty much center of it, and it provides cover, it provides only a few entries and exits, and we can't be airstriked. It's a pretty solid position, so we need to take that. So I'm in the mood, run straight over. Weirdly, like I said, if in doubt, write it out. That's probably the Pathfinder from before, but there's Pathfinder sat in the corner. That's probably the guy that got away when we were shooting that Octane. Although I could have finished in there and then, my team start getting shot, so I kind of back up and try to help them. I'm not sure where they were getting shot from, but Bloodhound comes my way, so I go back and finish that Pathfinder. Pretty easy kill. And if you are ratting, you might also find this. You might find a guy who's just on his own, and you might pick up some KP, so don't worry. Like, if you're not getting kills, there's plenty around at endgame as the circles are closing in. Now, a team, like I said, is holding this building. We need this building. We need this position. That was the most terrible smoke you've ever seen in your life. I don't know what happened there. But we need this building. It's going to be the best spot for us. So GB thermites this door off, and we have to take this fight. We need this position, and we have to go for it. There's a full team up on the cliffs to our left, and there's a couple just hiding underneath. I think they're just rats at this point, because there's 6 squads and 14 people. There's not a lot of full squads. So we need this building. These guys back up. They probably could have held this, but I guess they didn't want to. I'm trying to watch because there's just like a scan for the guy, but anyway, these guys back up, so it gives us a chance to push in and really get to grips with the fight. Now I want to airstrike us just for that guy on top and anyone around us, so it kind of like puts them off pushing us. While my Jibby is like push forward, this ring is coming in, but I want to make sure no one can come from behind us. Like, this is super important because we don't want to get into the fight with this other squad to then just have like 1 or 2 people just come from behind and take us out because we're super low on health and shields and whatnot. Like, it would be the worst thing. Now, because this guy was on his own, he's immediately gone down. Again, spaced out from his team. He's been taken out because he had like 2-3 of us shooting at him. And then Jibby Bubble pushed, which, I need to back out of. I need to heal. And I think this is another thing, which is probably going to be covered in another video of mine soon. But people are like, get so tunnel vision on the fight, they don't think about their own health, they don't think about over peaking, and that's a bit more important. Even if your enemy's weak, if you're weak too, I don't know, it's a risk you've got to think about, and it will come with your own judgment. Sometimes it's better to back out if they're, if one enemy's weak but one's like full health and you're weak, it's probably not best to push. And again, sticking with your team, like this Bloodhound then needs to be res. Jibby has the gold bag, but I smoke it for cover and then I just shoot down to make sure no one pushes us, make sure no one pushes the res. I need to protect those guys and make sure they can't be killed, make sure they don't get shot at, because it would put me in a really bad position. Now, I didn't realize these guys were going to push this, but they wanted to push down the absolute center of the building and finish everything up. So they absolutely cleaned up here. I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't aware that was going to happen. But right now we have the absolute best position for the ring, and it's going to come our way. There's no way anyone can get in this building except for that front door. We've only got to cover that door. There's people underneath us. There's 2 people outside who just start fighting. They're probably just 2 solos. And then I find the last squad just on this little cliff, and it's a rampart. I don't know whether that's the rampart we actually didn't kill earlier on. It could well be, but it's not something we need to push. We have position, we can wait around for them to come to us, and we have the better option. Now, obviously, if this was reversed, we'd be in a pretty sticky situation, but that's why positioning is super, super important, and trying to get the best position you can at the right time is going to be super, super important. Now, this rampart starts pushing, GB just bubbles, ults, and Bloodhound's ready, and we just clean them up, just like that. But because we had that position of that main building, because we took it at the right time, it meant we secured the win. And honestly, positioning in the end game is super, super important. There is some very, very weird end game circles, I won't lie, but doing what you can to really prioritize your positioning in that is super, super important. Now, I hope that's covered everything. I hope you've learned something from this, and I hope it's helped you. If you are struggling in Diamond, if you have learned something or anything to help you, let me know in the comments below, and smash that like button. It really helps me in the algorithm. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.